Mankind likes to believe that there are no monsters, that we have always ruled the world. It is not so. Would you like to be inside of me? Fred blinked at the question. No one had asked him such a thing in a long time, longer than he'd like to admit. No one had ever asked him that out of the blue, either. Fred considered himself a good guy, but he wasn't exactly handsome. Random beautiful women didn't talk to Fred. They didn't flirt with Fred. They certainly didn't proposition Fred before they'd even said hello. Fred floundered in the suave, debonair manner he was known for. Come again? The two of them were in a bar. It was a dive bar, battered tables and old wooden bar stools. Fred came here every Thursday for karaoke. He liked to sing. If you insist, the woman gave him a sultry smile. She was so pretty Fred was half afraid to look at her. Her skin was as pale as moonlight, with full red lips and wide, bright green eyes. She had long, dark hair so silky and shiny it belonged in a shampoo commercial. The woman wore a black house dress with a flower pattern, carnations. She looked younger than Fred, but not by much, late 20s or early 30s. The woman leaned closer. Fred couldn't resist a glance down her dress. She had cleavage you could hold a parade in. Fred caught a whiff of perfume, something light and subtle that set his heart racing. The lady leaned in all the way until she was inches from Fred's ear. Instead of the sensual whisper he was expecting, she half shouted, I said, would you like to be inside of me? The woman pulled back slowly with a wicked smile. Was this lady for real? Fred realized he was staring and made an effort to pick his jaw back up off the floor. He cleared his throat, nearly choked, and took a sip of beer to cover it. The embarrassment helped kick his brain back into gear. If there's one thing life had taught Fred, it's that beautiful women could not be trusted, especially beautiful women that were interested in him. Fred was fat, obese, not chubby. He'd been that way his whole life, despite all efforts to the contrary. He was active and mostly healthy, but that didn't change the fact that he looked like a walking beach ball. Fred had short brown hair and plain brown eyes and a little pug nose, which made his fat head look even more ridiculous. He assessed the woman for a moment, trying to look past the obvious beauty and see what kind of person he was dealing with. She had one arm casually draped across the bar, comfortably taking up space. She wore no jewelry, but her dress was high quality. It was the kind of expensive designer dress rich people use to imitate normal people clothes. Her eyes sparkled with amusement and intelligence. She was smart, confident, and well-to-do. All bad signs. Fred supposed it was possible this pale goddess really had taken an interest in a random fat guy in a karaoke bar. Excessively pretty women wanted the same things as ugly ducklings, and he had statistical proof that at least a few members of the female species had been willing to date him. The odds, however, were astronomically low. Most pretty people knew they could do better, this woman especially. Well? Asked the woman. She raised an eyebrow. Fred realized with a start that he had been staring at her for several seconds. Oh, sure? Fred silently cursed himself. He wasn't usually shy, but the woman had left him thoroughly flabbergasted. Fred made a frantic mental effort to pull himself together. Yes. Okay, better. Now he needed to say something clever. Shouldn't I at least take you out to dinner first? Maybe, the goddess admitted. She took a seat on the stool next to Fred. The woman leaned in again and put a hand on Fred's arm. She said, But they don't serve dinner here. Why don't you buy me a drink and we'll go from there? Fred considered. The woman almost certainly was a con artist, or a high-end call girl. Nothing else made sense. Fred decided he didn't care. If this gorgeous creature wanted to spend some time with him, he was inclined to let her. He just have to be careful. Watch his drink and avoid following the lady into any dark alleys. He nodded in agreement, then held out a hand. I'm Fred. Fred Jenkins. She smiled and slid her own hand along his. It was more of a caress than a handshake. I'm Amelia, she introduced herself. Pretty name, Fred remarked. He raised a hand to flag down the bartender. What'll you have? Fred got Amelia a beer. Amelia took a grateful swig and asked, What song are you doing next? Wicked Game, said Fred, by Chris Isaak. Oh, nice, the woman approved. That's almost prophetic. Prophetic? Now it was Fred's turn to raise an eyebrow. That sounds ominous. It fits, though, Amelia told him. I'm pretty sure you never dreamed of meeting someone like me. I guess not, Fred admitted. He had a sip of beer. I thought you were talking about the wicked part. Oh, I am, Amelia assured him. She grinned. I'm more wicked than you can possibly imagine. I believe you, said Fred. He really did. He wondered if he'd still have his kidneys by the end of the night. Good Lord, this was a bad idea. Why couldn't he just be happy with being alone? You better, Amelia warned. She was about to say something else, but the DJ called her name over the loudspeaker. She patted Fred on the arm. Hang tight, handsome. It's my turn to sing. Amelia sashayed over to the DJ and grabbed the microphone. Joe the bartender wandered over to Fred. He eyed the woman for a moment, then told Fred, You should go. What? Fred frowned at the man. Joe was an older man, late 50s. He was built solid, with thick arms and a comfortable gut. Joe was African American, with short hair and neatly trimmed beard. He wore jeans, a button-up shirt, and a sharp-looking white fedora. He had a voice like smooth jazz. You should go before she gets back, Fred explained. Why would I do that? Asked Fred. In the background, he heard the music start. Amelia had picked Rolling in the Deep by Adele. Ain't nothing good gonna come from talking to that girl, Joe intoned. You know her? Asked Fred. Amelia started to sing. Good God, what a voice. Soaring and majestic and as beautiful as she was. Don't need to, said the bartender. I know people. That girl is a stone-cold predator. You do know she's playing you, right? Probably, Fred admitted. He couldn't take his eyes off the singing woman. I don't know, Joe. Maybe I'm in the mood to get played tonight. Then you're a fool, said Joe. It doesn't matter how pretty she is. That woman's got death in her eyes. I'll be all right, Fred assured him. I appreciate the thought, though. I try to look out for my regulars, Joe told him. He shrugged. It's up to you, though. Don't come crying to me if she leaves you dead in a ditch somewhere. If I'm dead in a ditch, I won't be crying to anyone, Fred pointed out. Joe grunted and moved off to serve more drinks. Amelia finished the song. Fred applauded enthusiastically. She gave him a smile as she swished back to her seat. You're amazing, he told her. Thank you. She placed her hand on his arm again. Fred did his best not to quiver at her touch. You're pretty good yourself, you know. I try, Fred said modestly. He felt himself blush, then took a swig of beer to cover it. So, do you do this often? Karaoke? Amelia shook her head. I don't get out that much. I meant the propositioning strange men thing, Fred clarified. He raised a hand in a placating gesture. Not that I'm objecting, mind. Ah, Amelia shook her head. Not really. Like I said, I don't go out much. But every once in a while, she shrugged. I'm kind of a shut-in most of the time. But once or twice a year I get hungry for company. Hungry, huh? Fred gave a shallow nod. And what made you decide to make me your next meal? I heard you sing, she told him. Her eyes shamelessly roved over his body. "And I have a preference for larger men." "You're into fat guys?" Fred regretted the words the second they came out of his mouth, but Amelia just smiled. "I want what I want," she said with a shrug. "Why should I let TV and magazines tell me what handsome is? Skinny pretty boys and roided out jocks? No, thank you. I want a man with some meat on his bones." She gave him a conspiring smirk. "I guess you could say they have mass appeal." "Mass appeal?" Fred snorted in spite of himself. "That's a terrible pun." "Isn't it, though?" Amelia giggled. The two of them talked, they sang, they got drunk. Amelia's hands were all over Fred, never quite inappropriate, but always touching. Fred wanted very much to touch her back, and found her quite receptive to his clumsy attempts. He kept it PG, nothing more forward than putting an arm around her waist, but it thrilled him. When last call finally came around, Amelia wrapped herself around Fred. She whispered in his ear, "Come home with me." "God, yes," Fred agreed. Amelia was charming and funny and affectionate. By now, Fred was convinced she was the most beautiful creature to ever walk the earth. He was dimly aware of Joe's warning, and past experience suggested the other shoe would drop soon. He was too drunk and too infatuated to care. Amelia pulled out a cell phone and typed into it as they wandered out of the bar. Fred was expecting a walk, possibly down a dark alley. Instead, a limo pulled into view. It came to a stop in front of them. Fred gave Amelia a surprised look. He'd known she'd had money, but limo money? "What do you do for a living?" he asked. "Nothing," Amelia grinned. "I'm rich." She gestured at the limo. "Shall we?" The limo took them uptown. It pulled into a private parking garage beneath a high-end apartment building. Fred was barely aware of it. Amelia had wrapped herself around him the second they were in the car. Her lips were even more intoxicating than he'd imagined. A giggling Amelia pulled Fred into an elevator, where they continued making out. It took far too little time for the elevator to come to a stop. They were on the top floor, the penthouse. Amelia let him in. The penthouse was gorgeous. Plush furniture, expensive-looking paintings, and vases full of flowers everywhere he looked. There was an extensive entertainment system with a huge TV and every game console known to man. If that wasn't enough, Fred noticed an acoustic guitar leaning against one of the couches. Not just any guitar, a Martin D45, the acoustic equivalent to the Holy Grail. "You play guitar?" Fred asked. "No," Amelia replied, "but I want to learn. Do you?" "A little bit," Fred said modestly. "Just a little?" Amelia raised an eyebrow. "I'm pretty good," Fred admitted. Amelia smiled wider. "Show me." "Sure." Fred picked up the guitar and sat on the couch. It was easily the most expensive instrument he'd ever touched. Fred gave it a strum. Oh, yes. Fred turned the Martin carefully, trying to decide what to play. Then he frowned. "Wait, what about the neighbors?" "Oh, don't worry," Amelia told him. "This whole place is soundproofed." Her smile turned wicked. "We can be as loud as we want." "Oh, cool." Fred strummed the guitar. He was pleased with the sound. The Martin was the most expensive guitar he'd ever touched, and you could hear every penny. Looking at Amelia again set his brain on fire. Fred knew just what to play. Amelia listened as deft hands strummed beautiful music. Fred sang as he played. He put his whole soul into it. Amelia swayed with a smile on her face. When he'd finished, Amelia asked, "What song was that?" "I Will Follow You in the Dark," said Fred, by Death Cab for Cutie. "It was perfect. You're perfect." Amelia stared at Fred. The heat in her eyes made him feel like his heart would beat out of his chest. "I knew you were the right choice." "The right choice for what?" Fred asked with a lopsided grin. "God, what a woman. What a night." "You're the one I want inside me," she told him. Her lips parted. Her chest heaved. Amelia removed her dress with a swift, smooth motion, revealing glory beyond Fred's wildest dreams. "Come with me, Fred. I can't wait any more." She took Fred's hand, pulling him off the couch with surprising strength. She pulled him down a hallway and into a dark room. Fred heard something crinkle beneath his feet, but he barely noticed. He was too focused on on Amelia. Amelia drew Fred further into the room. She slid past him to close the door. She flicked on the light. Fred frowned. The room was empty. Empty and covered in plastic. Sheets of clear material lined the walls, the floor, everywhere. A niggling hint of self-preservation reared its ugly head. Alarm bells tried to cut through Fred's euphoria. They didn't quite manage it, but they did prompt him to ask, "Where's the bed?" "The bed?" Amelia's smile was cold and hard. "Beds belong in the bedroom." The smile widened at his confused look. "This isn't the bedroom," she explained. "This is the dining area." She smirked. "Don't mind the plastic. I'm a messy eater." There was a shimmer. The pale goddess disappeared. In place was something else. A nightmare. Its skin was charcoal black. Once shapely limbs were replaced with putrid, rotting flesh. Its eyes were cloudy, milky white. Tufts of straggly white hair clung to a patchy, decaying scalp. The creature's teeth were yellow, crooked, and sharp. Its fingers ended in long, yellow claws. The smell hit Fred like a truck. Death and decay mixed with expensive perfume. Fred gagged, barely stopping himself from throwing up. He fell back several steps, then looked up at the thing that used to be his dream girl. The monster was still smiling. In Amelia's perfect voice it said, "I told you I wanted you inside me. I never said it would be romantic." "What?" The shock finally cut through Fred's drunken, giddy euphoria. "What are you?" "Isn't it obvious?" the monster asked. "I'm the one that's going to eat you." "Eat him?" "Oh, of course." Dejection landed on Fred like a ton of obvious bricks. Of course Amelia was too good to be true. Of course she didn't really want him. No one wanted Fred. He should have known. He should have listened to Joe. He shook his head. "So it was all fake then?" "Not all of it," the monster told him. "I didn't just bring anyone here, you know. I would have left you at the bar if you weren't a man of substance." A fat joke? Fred couldn't help being offended. It was a really stupid thing to worry about with a walking corpse about to eat him, but there it was. "Really?" "I'm not talking about your weight, Fred." The monster rolled its eyes. Or at least, Fred thought it did. It was hard to tell when the creature didn't have pupils. "My victims become a part of me. Skills, memories, even bits of their personality sometimes. I can't afford just to eat whoever. I have to be selective." She shrugged. "What can I say, Fred? You made the cut." "That's how you're going to learn to play guitar," Fred guessed. "By eating me." "Smart and handsome," the thing with Amelia's voice approved. "Do you see what I mean?" Fred felt his shoulders slump. He was dimly aware he should be afraid, or disgusted, or something. A normal person would be. Fred was too busy being heartbroken. He'd only known Amelia a few hours. He'd suspected this would be a one-time thing at best, even if it wasn't a trick. But he'd hoped. Oh, how he'd hoped. This woman could have been the love of his life. "It's a lot of effort, really," the dead thing continued, "finding someone worthwhile. I've been looking for 2 weeks. You should be flattered." "Are you the real Amelia?" Fred asked numbly. "Of course not," said the dead thing. "Do you think I'd give my real name while I'm hunting?" It snorted, then it shimmered and turned back into a beautiful woman. "In this form? It's just a glamour." She shimmered into a different beautiful woman. a short blonde this time. Then she became an old man. I can look like anything I've eaten. That's where most of my money came from. Identity theft. Amelia resumed her rotting corpse form. Fred grunted. The woman of his dreams, and she wasn't even real. Figures. You sound lonely, he told her. Lonely? Amelia scoffed. I'm a monster, Fred. I eat people. You're lonely, Fred repeated, like me. If you weren't, we wouldn't still be talking. Amelia frowned. You're just trying to talk me out of eating you. I'm not. Wait, he wasn't? Now it was Fred's turn to frown. I mean, I'm not going to let you eat me, but that's not what this is about. You sound lonely. And what? Amelia scowled. You're going to fix that? Become like me and spend forever together like some trashy romance novel? Fred perked up. Is that possible? No, Fred, it's not possible. Amelia gestured at herself. And even if it was, why would you want to? I'm a fell thing, Fred. A cursed thing. I was raised from the dead to be a plague on the living. You're still you, though, Fred pointed out. A dead person is still a person. No, it isn't, Amelia disagreed. Stop it, Fred. Stop what? Fred asked mildly. Caring? Yes, you idiot, the dead woman snapped. Don't you get it? I don't even like you. It was all a trick. I lured you here to eat you alive. You could have brought me up here hours ago, Fred was certain. You spent that time with me because you enjoyed it. I'm evil, you jackass, Amelia shouted. I'm a literal cannibal corpse. Do you think a night of karaoke changes anything? It changed me, Fred said simply. Amelia stared at him. Amelia, Fred said softly, whatever your name is, I won't pretend to know what it's like to be you, and I won't say you're not a monster, but I see you. I've heard you sing. You are lonely and passionate and sad. He shook his head. I don't think I can make it better, but I do see you. Amelia kept staring. Then she started to curse. She went on for quite some time. Eventually she spat. Damn it, Fred. This isn't how this is supposed to go. Where's the fear, the revulsion? You're supposed to be screaming right now. She gestured at herself again. Look at me, Fred. Look at what I am. I see it, said Fred. His nose wrinkled. The smell was really getting to him. I'm literally going to eat you, she reminded him. Alive. Maybe, Fred admitted. He didn't plan on being eaten, but he couldn't discount the possibility. I can see what you are, Amelia, and I just don't care. This has been the best night of my life. You're amazing, and you made me feel wanted. A little kindness is the least I can do. Kindness? Amelia sighed. Oh, Fred, you're too good for this world, aren't you? She shook her head. No wonder you're about to be eaten. Don't, Fred said sharply. Please. He didn't know what Amelia could do, but he guessed she was strong, inhumanly so. Still, she was small. She couldn't weigh more than 140 pounds. Fred was strong and a lot faster than he looked. He probably couldn't beat the dead woman in a fight, but he didn't have to. Knocking her over and throwing her would be enough. Then he could book it out of the apartment. He was reasonably sure she wouldn't follow. The apartment building had a lot of cameras. There was just one problem. I don't want to hurt you, he finished. You don't want to... Amelia trailed off. She looked stricken. Then she got angry again. You gotta be kidding me. I won't let you eat me, Fred explained. But I meant what I said. We don't have to do this, Amelia. We can call it a night. Hell, I do karaoke every Thursday. You can come. We'll hang out. You really think... Amelia swallowed. She shimmered back to the pale goddess she'd been before. You're right, Fred. I'm lonely. Miserable, really. You don't have to be, Fred argued. You don't understand, she told him. I'm a dead thing, Fred. I can't enjoy food or sex or hot or cold. I don't sleep and I can't stand the sight of myself or the smell. This woman? She gestured at her body. The one you're so enamored of? She was a real person. I killed her. She died screaming. And do you know what? I loved every second of it. Consuming human flesh is the only physical pleasure I get. It's the only time I'm happy. And the more pain and fear I inflict, the better it tastes. Fred said nothing. The woman continued. I'm not just the curse on the living, Fred. I'm a curse on myself. I'm scared all the time. I have to hide from everyone, always. They'd hunt me if they knew, kill me. And if you knew what was waiting on the other side. I can't. Amelia let out a shuddering breath. Her voice firmed. You can't accept what I am, Fred. Not forever. Not when you know what I'm doing. She raised her hands. Fred couldn't see the claws anymore, but he knew they were there. I'm sorry, Fred. I didn't make it this far by leaving survivors. Damn. Amelia had turned the glamour back on to make friends. She'd done it to make Fred weak, so he'd hesitate. Fred was going to have to fight. He shifted his feet into a fighting stance. He left his arms at his sides, loose and ready. Don't make me do this, Amelia. There's no other way, she told him. I usually eat my victims alive, but for you I'll make an exception. I'll make it quick. You won't suffer. Her eyes glistened with moisture. You should have found someone who could have loved you, Fred, like you deserved. Instead, you found me. For what it's worth, I really am sorry.